It's on the marquee is Friday the 13th, released May 9th, 1980. Friday the 13th is directed by Sean Cunningham. He's someone who started out in theater, started making low budget features. He met Wes Craven when Wes Craven was just starting and getting interested in the business. He produced Last House on the Left, Wes Craven's movie that he directed. In turn, Wes Craven produced a movie that he had directed. Halloween comes out, and he gets the idea to do a movie like that. Right? Inspires copycats. So he comes up with the title Friday the 13th. There was a Halloween movie. What other holidays can we do? He releases big advertisements for it coming out before he even has a script or a cast or anything, just to gauge to see if the title's already been used, if somebody's going to sue him over it or not. Nothing really comes about it, so he sets about getting the movie made. He finds a writer, Victor Miller. He hires him to write the story. Kind of similar to some of the other movies we talked about. Just Friday the 13th, there's a killer killing some kids. Make the movie. So Victor Miller had gone to Yale. He was someone who was very interested in writing and screenplays. He had taken a variety of classes all over the place, studied film, so he's hired to write the screenplay. And then they score Tom Savini to do the makeup special effects. Tom Savini is a name I don't think we've talked about yet, but here we are. Savini was interested in makeup at a young age, practiced it with his friends, ends up going to Vietnam, is in the war there, sees some things that he can't forget, uses those memories to replicate in some of his special effects work. Ends up working with George Romero on Martin, film by George Romero that came out in 1978. And then, of course, ends up working on Dawn of the Dead, and on from there, right? So this Friday the 13th was his fifth film that he had worked on. Not too bad considering his work with Romero was just in 78. I think he made Martin and Dawn of the Dead in 78. So Savini is doing the special effects, and then they need to get a cast. The budget for the film is only $550,000. It's a low budget movie. So as much as they would like to have a known name and a big star, at least one in a role, they can't really afford that. So the cast is a lot of younger actors, unproven actors. A couple of them were friends, so they decide to cast them. So then they already have the on-screen chemistry. One of the young cast is Kevin Bacon in his fifth role. And then, of course, the part of Mrs. Voorhees is cast to Betsy Palmer. She had been mostly a TV actress, but she had been an experienced actress. She'd been acting for about 30 years. So she gets cast. The only reason Betsy Palmer said that she took the part was because she needed a new car, and she hadn't had a role in 8 years. I think at the time she was like 54. So older actress, because she's an older actress, she's not getting a lot of work, especially in the 80s. It's just the way things were. And then they get Harry Manfredi, does the score, and he decides to do what worked in Jaws. So it comes up with that, what is it? And he uses that the same way the theme in Jaws is used to trigger the audience, the Pavlov's dog thing, to let you know, okay, here comes the shark, here comes the killer. The music isn't always present. He selects when there will be music, when to cue you into things, when he wants you to pay attention to different things. Yeah, so movie gets made, and then a bidding war starts, right? So they've got the movie made, now they need somebody to put it out. Major studio. So bidding war starts. Paramount pays $1.5 billion for the rights to release the movie. Not too bad for a movie that had a budget of $550,000, right? Paramount puts $500,000 into promotional material for her advertisement for the film, and then when it comes out and it's being a success, they put $500,000 more in. So pretty much the budget of the movie twice over just to promote the movie. And they marketed it to youth, to the younger audience, the 20 somethings, the teenagers, people getting killed in the movies. And so that is the start of that, which will just ramp up as horror movies go, right? Marketing it to the younger audience. Because maybe the old people don't want to see someone stick an arrow through someone's neck. Yeah, and they expanded the release. It ended up being shown in 1,127 theaters. A lot more than some of the films we've talked about to this date. They even released it internationally, which was kind of a big thing for a low-budget horror movie. And then the backlash came, right? Critics weren't very fond of what they thought was just a cheap ripoff with a lot of bloody, violent kills. Gene Siskel of Siskel and Ebert especially wasn't a fan of it, and he went about and published the home address of the company that owned Paramount, the head CEO of that company. He put out his address so people could go harass him. And he gave out the address of nice little old lady Betsy Palmer so people could harass them. So maybe not too nice of a guy, that Siskel. But yeah, of course, it's Friday the 13th. There ends up being 6 of them in the next 6 years. There's how many now? 12? 13? Do you count Freddy versus Jason? So that is Friday the 13th. Another film that's inspired by all the movies we've talked about and inspires more, and is kind of the whole setup for slasher movies in the 80s. That's about it for this video. Like, subscribe. Next, I am going to talk about a movie that came out in 1982 that was maybe directed by Tobe Hooper, or was it directed by Steven Spielberg? We'll talk about that next time. Thanks, guys.